It's time for Windows Weekly, episode 149. Coming up, Paul's rant against Google, a look at the HTC HD2, and the battle of the eBooks. Windows Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 149 for March 26, 2010. Ask the Beavers. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Drobo, the original S, Pro, and now the new Drobo Elite, offering expandable storage products for individuals, small businesses, and creative teams. For more information and instant rebates, visit drobo.com/windows. And by audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that covers everything you need to know about Windows. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, back from his road trip all around the country, visiting Microsoft service centers everywhere, Mr. Paul Thurrott.
Hello.
Hello, editor-in-chief of the SuperSite for Windows, SuperSite.com. You're starting to sound a little bit like Brian, actually.
Wow.
Hello. And also the editor, author.
Paul, Microsoft has a policy. Don't get me started.
He is the author of Windows 7 Secrets with Rafael Rivera. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
I keep telling him that his name is actually Riviera, but he's not buying it.
Rafael Riviera.
Exactly, with that exact roll of the R.
Rafael Riviera. Chase.
How awesome would he be if his name was Rafael Riviera?
Chase.
You know,
Jesus.
he'd be like Antonio Banderas, but with technology.
Antonio Banderas. Let's see here. Also, Mr. Thurrott is the news editor for Windows IT Pro, and you're back from Mix. Was it a Mixiful event?
It was Mixacular. It was good, actually. And then we had our own little Penton, events as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Now, was that the same? It was in the same hotel and everything, so you didn't have to go anywhere?
Well, no. Mix was down at the Mandalay Bay, right, which is way down the end of the strip, and my stuff was at the Bellagio, which, just as a little travel tip. I'm not really into hotels or anything like that, but the Bellagio is actually a really nice hotel, and unlike almost every other hotel in Vegas, you can go to your room without going through the hotel, like the casino part.
See, why they do that, I don't know, because really isn't that the whole point of this exercise?
I'm telling you, unless it's cost prohibitive in the future, I'm going to be looking into that again, because the worst part of virtually every hotel in that city, not all of them, but most of the big casino hotels.
Well, that's one of the reasons I used to stay at the Desert Inn, because you didn't have to do that. And then now I stay at the Renaissance, which doesn't even have a casino.
And that's the one that's next to the...
And it's next to the convention center, but it's really pricey as a result because they have to actually make their money on rooms.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy idea, but... So, and then I think at the Mandalay Bay, there's a Four Seasons kind of embedded in the Mandalay Bay, much as Brian Williams was in Iraq.
Yeah, and as I hope to soon be with Microsoft.
Are you going to be an embedded reporter at Microsoft?
Yeah, not to report on anything, but I need to write that book, and I'm hoping to embed myself, if you will.
What book? What? You're going to write the making of Windows 8?
No, the Windows Phone book. So obviously they can't give out phone devices early, so I'm hoping. I've asked them about it. They said it would be fine, but now that it's actually happening, I have to go back and say, remember the thing we talked about? Now I need it to really happen.
Are you going to pull a Tracy Kidder? Are you going to pull a G. Pascal Zachary?
Leo, I'm reporting here from the basement in Building 25.
I can't
You'll hear
speak
things
very loud.
happening in the background.
In the background, engineers are bombing the phone. Wow, that's cool. So you're actually going to go to Redmond and kind of watch them work on it?
No.
Maybe you're using a version of embedded that I don't fully understand.
Allow me to explain.
Please do.
No, my plan is to sit in a room somewhere by myself, but to have a device with me so that I can actually write about it and have it make sense, because I have the device. They won't let me take it.
You can't take it out of the room.
Yeah, but I can go into a room and have one.
Wow, that's neat.
That's my plan. I'm talking about this like it's. I mean, they told me that this could happen, but now, like I said, now it has to kind of happen, or the book can't happen. So.
And what would the time frame be
for the book?
And the embedding.
Oh, I see. So my goal would be to go there once in April and once in May.
Cool.
Finish the book in June.
Cool. We could do the show from there. You could put a screen around you, a scrim. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll talk to him about that.
That'll be really fun.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, but behind me is a top secret Microsoft.
There's a thing, and if you could only see it, you would be so impressed. Allow me to describe it in the vaguest of terms.
Do you know the Juju shipped today? I just wanted to say that.
I don't even know what that means. What are you talking about?
The Juju is the old crunch pad that now called the Juju, and it's going to be in stores in a week, but they shipped out the door today.
In other words, to beat the iPad.
To beat the iPad with a stick.
Now, where would I see information about this? Is it literally juju.com? No,
yeah, something like that. I think if you Google Juju, one of the reasons they probably chose that crappy name is that at least they can own it. And they must have juju.com. They do. Oh, no, it's thejuju.com.
It's what?
THEJOOJOO.
Juju is like the French word for toy.
Is it?
Juju, yeah.
Oh, maybe they're French. That would explain it. Juju.
I think.
Juju. Hello. Oh, the site is not loading. It's very
No, it's not. I'm
very
glad that's
slow.
not just...
It is the ultimate internet experience. It says so right here. But the iPad comes out a week from Saturday.
Yep. I heard that.
You know, they have a picture of Avatar on the Juju, which is fine, except that
it actually comes with a ripped version of the movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think, unless
in case it wasn't clear, this entire thing was a giant ripoff.
Unless I'm mistaken, I don't think you can get Avatar on the Juju. Anyway, yeah, exactly. They're going to try to get this in the hands of consumers before. I should order one.
I'm impressed that you brought this site up. I still can't get it to come up.
Yeah, I have I have ways and means. Look at that. Avatar again in HD. So this is the vaunted crunch pad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I might order one of those. That looks kind of cool. Just to be good to have it to compare it.
Sure.
To the Maxi Pad. But actually, this is the Maxi Pad. It's much bigger.
Is it widescreen?
Yeah, it is 16:9. I think. Yeah. Anyway, you know what? We have so much to talk about in the Windows world. I don't know why I'm talking about Jujus. Let us get to the Windows matter at hand. But first,
but before we get started,
you have something to say.
Well, I just wanted to, last week I think we mentioned that our podcast is now available in large and small video forms.
In video, yes.
On iTunes. But, it's also available in those forms on the Zune Marketplace.
Of course, Rob Greenlee immediately.
Which is what you should be using to view our podcast.
Yes, and it looks good. Very nice on a Zune.
It's Zune-tacular. The other thing, actually, that's worth mentioning, now that I'm thinking of this, is Microsoft is sort of quietly, very recently, created something that you Apple fans in the audience will recognize as a complete ripoff, a podcast called Microsoft Keynotes. And now they've only been doing it since January.
That's
so the
brilliant.
CES, yeah. So if you want to go back and by the way, some of these videos are that may not be true in the podcast. Actually, they're probably just 640 by whatever, but they're in pretty decent quality. So as Apple does with their own keynote addresses, Microsoft is now providing these things via the Zune Marketplace, via a podcast that you can subscribe to. And I suppose if you really had to, you could subscribe from iTunes as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it's a podcast, you can get it anywhere.
Sure.
By the way, we are also on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/twit, this might be the easiest way to watch it. There's a Windows Weekly channel, and we've been there for some time.
It seems like we're a little behind on that, right?
Okay, so here's the deal. Just between us kids.
I see.
So we're recording the show now. We record the show on Thursday at 11 in the morning Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern at live.twit.tv. You can watch live. You can get it immediately.
Yep.
Then, as soon as we stop recording, I will press a button. And Tony will lower the dumbwaiter. And I'll put the tape.
It's not a monkey in a funky little cap.
We do have we couldn't afford the monkey. We've got a ferret.
I guess someone else instead.
Yeah. Actually, Tony sits in the dumbwaiter and Eric closes it. And then I hand him the tape and then go back upstairs into the attic where we have a team of crack editors chopping it up.
Oh, I've met these people.
Oh, they're brilliant.
Crack.
When they're
definitely a word I would use.
It's the word. And when they receive the tape, they immediately begin to work on it.
The tape. You called it a tape. I'm
like little
intrigued by that.
Beavers. Yes. Well, tape, cassette, whatever.
You know, we showed my son a picture of a record player.
What did he think?
He didn't know what it was.
What?
I mean, he couldn't even make the comparison that it's sort of like a DVD or
well, think about it. If
CD player, because he doesn't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's all digital for him, isn't it? Think about it. If you had never seen a record and you looked at a record player,
right,
you would not. We would not be able to deduce.
No, it looks like that flat fruit roll-up stuff. It's like a snack.
Right.
It doesn't look like it's something
you'd never be able to deduce it. So, yeah, what is this? It's a fruit roll-up maker.
Yeah.
It was, you'd never know. So, I understand that.
We bring the tape to the
So they get it. It takes them a little while to modify it. It's not instant. And then they take the modified file with all this, Frederic, go bring them on in. Bring them on. We have guests here who want to watch the dumbwaiter come down. then we bring the edited version. There's a carrier pigeon dovecote on the roof, and we give that edited tape to the folks. We fly it into the folks at YouTube.
You say something like Godspeed.
Godspeed, you little birdie.
Bird.
Godspeed. May all your, watch for the cats. And sometimes a cat gets them. So you may, that may be what happened.
The delay.
Yeah, that may be what happened. Okay. So then the YouTube people, when they get it, they do something else they call transcoding. No one knows what that is. But they transcode it. And that can take anywhere from a day to 5 years. It's just an unknown quantity.
Yep. It's mathematical.
It's a precise formula. Right. So we just don't know what will happen to it. But basically the idea is that, in all seriousness, after Tony, we get it done probably later, like for today. They send it to, actually they send it to MediaFly. MediaFly transcodes it, automatically sends it to YouTube and other venues, other points south. And it should all appear Thursday.
I agree.
And I believe
that part, I'm with you.
I believe in the future it will.
In the future, all kinds of things are going to be better.
In the future, no. In fact, you might even
kind of staking our careers on that.
This week. You might even find that it comes day of. It's what we call a zero-day podcast.
I'd like to embed the video every week in my site, but it's never the current.
Isn't it? I should ask Tony about that. It's supposed to be. I think we're still working on the workflow. But in theory, it should go up day of. It will within the next few weeks. It will go up day of. So please don't complain. If you only knew what we have to go through.
An observation. There are many ways to get the video. Right.
Right. Many, many ways. I'm ordering a Juju pad right now, by the way. It's like a Juju bee. Let us. We're going to do the first item in this endless sequence in just a moment. Before we do, you know who's back, baby? Drobo. D-R-O-B-O. Drobo. Drobo is back, baby, on the show, and we love Drobo. Drobo is stands for Data Robotics. It is the amazing enclosure that, there's the original Drobo with 4 disk bays, redundant. You can lose any one and your data never gets lost. It's great for, storing as much as 8 terabytes, depending. But you put the drives in, and the nice thing about the Drobo, they can be heterogeneous. So if you've got an old 160 gigabyte lying around, a couple of terabytes, a 500, you put them all in, it adds them all up. I think it takes about 30% of the total drive storage for redundancy, so you never lose anything. And boom, you've got it. And that's what I use at home. But they are continuing to add new models. There's the Drobo S. This is fairly new. This has 5 disk bays, so you can lose any 2. This has got more storage, better performance. We've mentioned the Drobo Pro before. the 8-disc bays for small business and creative teams. But now we are here to announce something brand new from Drobo. Are you ready? Hold on to your hats. It's the Drobo Elite. And this is making me really mad. Really mad. About, I don't know, 3 months ago, we bought a storage area network, a SAN for our editors. We needed something that was super fast, that I'm recording to the SAN right now, and the editors can edit from the SAN. We can all access the SAN at the same time without slowing down. I mean, it's a really nice device. And it was $20,000, and it hasn't been very reliable. And I was told, I kid you not, well, that's because you didn't get the $100,000 one. The $100,000 one. And we, of course, before we did this, we talked to Drobo, and we said, boy, you know, we'd love a SAN. And they said, yeah, we don't really do that yet. I should have listened to the yet, because they do it. The Drobo Elite, 8-disc bays. It is networked storage. It's a storage area network supporting up to 16 computer connections. It has dual gigabit Ethernet ports. You can connect via iSCSI, which makes it look just like a local drive. Perfect for a small business. Or, listen, it even says it in the copy, a video editing team who want the benefits of storing and accessing files fast on a network. Do we know anybody like that? We could get rid of the dumbwaiter. VMware certified, and you get a special deal. I mean, I can save you so much money if you go to drobo.com/Windows, okay? Drobo.com/Windows, and look at the special prices for Windows Weekly listeners or viewers or pigeons, whatever.
You know, if they come out with a version with a dumbwaiter, I think
then we'll buy it. Look, they even have a picture of Manga Paul.
Look at this.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Use the coupon code Windows. You'll save up to $1,200 at the Drobo store. This is just a must-have for anybody who has to store data. And look, there's Victor Cayo, there's Callie Lewis, people who own Drobos talking about their Drobos. From the Drobo S to the Drobo Pro, and the brand new Drobo Elite with capacities up to 16 terabytes. Now, what did I say I spent for my SAN? $20,000. They said, well, you should have got the $100,000. Put 8 2-terabyte drives in this Drobo Elite. Normally, it would be $58.99. The TWiT price, $45.99. $45.99. Paul, I could have paid you that extra $15,000 right out of my pocket. And I
kind of wish you had.
Yeah. Drobo is back, baby, with the latest Drobo Elite. Take a look. drobo.com/Windows Weekly. And by the way, 16 terabytes, Colleen is reminding me, is only a limit because that's as big as the hard drives come now, 2 terabytes. But as bigger drives come out, that's the beauty of Drobo. You swap out those tiny little 2 terabyte
I like the
drives.
concept that 16 terabytes is a limit.
It isn't. The limit, I mean, like, I don't know what the limit is on the Elite.
You know, limited storage capacity.
It's probably hundreds of terabytes because it's just, you know, they're just waiting. When they come out with 3 terabyte drives, you just put them in.
Sure.
But that's the beauty of Drobo. I
think the thing I'm most impressed with is the Windows Weekly page on their site.
You want to see that with the Manga Paul? He's got such beautiful...
Should be a little quote coming from me.
Yeah, why is there nothing coming? You know why? Because we didn't get a quote from you. You have something to say. Why
am I here?
What am I doing here? Why are my eyes so limpid and beautiful?
When was my hair ever this brown?
My teeth this white. Drobo makes your hair browner, your teeth whiter, and your smile bigger. It's Drobo, drobo.com/Windows. Actually, I see Windows Weekly, but I think Windows works also. Now, that's interesting, because when I went to drobo.com/Windows, oh, yeah, either one works. You will get to, so save a few letters and save some money, up to $1,200
bucks. We're all
off.
about being efficient.
Yeah. Use the coupon code Windows at the Drobo store. But to see the whole deal, drobo.com/Windows Weekly. I get email all the time from happy Drobo users. It's every once in a while you get a product where people like want to tell you they use it, and I love it, and you go, oh, it's funny. It's just one of those products.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And you know, those guys, they won like a Tech Ed award from my publication, and I also get email from Drobo users, and you know, sort of unsolicited email. It is interesting.
Yeah, there's something about Drobos that just people love them. It's like the VW Bug or something. It's just I know why, because if you bought a SAN, and Drobo comes along and saves you 15 grand, you might love them too. I could save you a lot of money if you go to drobo.com/Windows. Thank you very much for your support, Drobo. We're glad to have you back on Windows Weekly. Google. Evil.
Yes.
Evil. Did you see? There was a really funny post on TechCrunch. Apparently, if you are an advertiser on Facebook, there's this Facebook platform where you choose. There's a slider. And the slider is on the left, all the way to the left, monetization. All the way to the right, user experience. And you get to choose as an advertiser, do I want more monetization and worse user experience, or do I want a better user experience and less?
Both.
You can't have both.
Those are literally the extremes.
Facebook.
So if you go all the way to one side, does it literally not show them an ad?
You might.
It's just like a welcome bit of white space on the Facebook page.
It's stunning.
And then on the far left, it's like watch the monkey, count the coconuts, and it's one of those stupid games where the thing moves around.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a great article. If you it's a TechCrunch. Let me see if I can find it.
Didn't Facebook surpass Google this?
Yes, they had more. They had more hits. Here it is. It's the Facebook Super Rewards monetization page, and it says adjust offer focus between monetization and user experience. Now, this is not for the user to set. This is the advertiser's page.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Isn't that great? That just like makes it explicit.
On Google could have a similar thing, except it could go between evil and don't be evil.
Well, yeah, we could have like the Google slider.
Sure.
So what is the latest now with Google? Google has pulled out of Microsoft. Google has pulled out of Microsoft. Left Microsoft high and dry. No, it's pulled out of China.
I'm getting so tired of Google. Here's what bugs me about. So the latest thing, obviously, is they're sort of pulling out of China, right? They've made this big moral stance, and now all these privacy and human rights advocates that were previously, arguing with the company over their policies in China are now, applauding Google for doing the right thing, as if they did the right thing. Right. I'm confused by this because Google's not leaving China because China did something bad to an individual or because they stole someone's rights or something like that. They were behind the hacking of Google's own network, so now they're pulling out. Like that's what it took. It's kind of a self-interest move. And the way I sort of think of it, and the way I described it in an editorial this week was, it's like an insurance company style decision. You look at the costs and the benefits, and you do the math, and then you say, well, we're leaving. They didn't do it for the right reason. They just did it to serve their own best interest. And the whole world is like celebrating them like they've done something wonderful.
Yeah, that's a good point. And this came up, we talked about this on This Week in Google when they announced that they had problems with China. Eric Schmidt, apparently, according to the story, was the guy who never wanted to leave China. He says he's a
businessman.
He's a businessman. And frankly, as CEO, he has a fiduciary responsibility to the stakeholders.
Maybe. I mean, Google is Google is publicly owned, it's slightly different than other publicly owned companies.
I guess if you were a stakeholder and you were getting $600 a share, you might let Google do anything it wanted.
Yeah, I think when the times are good, you can be a little freewheeling.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not impressed by this, is what I'm trying to say. And by the way, before anyone, drops the hypocrisy bomb, I mean, and I do mention this in my editorial, if there's anything more disgusting than Google's attitude toward China, it is, of course, Microsoft and Yahoo's attitude toward China. Those companies have basically just said, look, if you want to do business in the country, you have to follow the rules.
Well, that's true. And China even brought up, look, Google censors Nazi search results in Germany following German law.
Sure.
So, but what Google decided was we're not going to break the law. Yep. But when you go to google.cn, you will get forwarded to google.hk, where it is not illegal for us to, give you the full internet. And China's basically going to block Google, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think within days, no doubt, they will just simply block them completely. I do, vaguely agree that, the onus of blocking results in China should fall on China, not on
Yes.
the companies, that are doing business there. But, my point isn't that. It's just that, it's amazing to see these same groups, and this would include governments as well, that, previously had complained about Google's, hypocrisy going into China and talking about not being evil and doing business there and making money there. And then when something happens to them, not to a human being, but to them, that's when they decide to pull out, And then these same people turn around and celebrate them for this. The New York Times called this decision brave, as if they had made some kind of a moral stance, 4 years later.
Well, they did. And then that's what the gossip was, that Larry and Sergey, the founders, wanted to be in China.
You know what? That's fantastic. We all want to believe. No, seriously.
You don't think it's true?
I don't think it matters if it's true.
Yeah.
These guys have sort of an aura around them, and we want to believe that they're good people. And here we'll throw this thing out as some kind of a rumor, and it can make them seem like they're human beings and not robots, which is what I actually think they are. But I just think this is the whole thing's hypocritical. It's crazy, and I get Google's decision to leave China is fine, seen as a business decision. Let's not celebrate them. That's my point. That they want to leave China, got it. It's amazing to me that they got such a free pass on this.
No, in fact, I had the same exact reaction 3 months ago on This Week in Google. I said, they ought to have done this from day one. If they want praise, do it from day one. Don't wait until you get hacked and then suddenly discover that
they've spent
China's
years
evil.
justifying why they're there, right? And by the way, not to put too much of a point on this, they're not exactly kicking ass in that country either from a market share perspective. Leaving what is essentially the largest internet market in the world sounds like a huge deal, but the truth is they controlled a very, very tiny part of that, and we're going nowhere fast.
It might have been easier for them to do. But you compare it to Yahoo, which was actively helping the Chinese government track down dissidents.
Yeah,
there is a scale. There is a spectrum.
No. I want to be really upfront about that. Microsoft, in an official capacity, has come out and said basically what we said earlier. If you want to do business there, you have to follow the rules. That's a very it's a very callous way to look at it.
One of the reasons Microsoft might feel they have to be in China is because they are easily the most pirated company. China basically uses Windows and Microsoft software without paying for it, almost universally. And so having a presence in the country might give them some
It's an open door so they can actually talk to the government and hopefully do something.
When I was in Beijing, you go in the mall and downstairs there's a bookstore. In the bookstore, every possible CD, they look very nicely printed, they're beautiful, they're all pirated, of every possible program, including, of course, Windows, Microsoft Office. By
the way, what you just said is reasonable. Microsoft has never said that. So, if that was the argument that, at least, you're making a decision that makes sense for your business.
They're not going to say that because that's embarrassing to say we're going to ignore human rights because we have to protect our copyrights.
Okay, well, I have a problem with that. You talked about the Germany bans Nazi memorabilia from, or whatever it is, or, in their country. And that's sort of understandable, given the history of the country.
Yeah, and that's not a human rights violation.
And there are not a lot of people who would, I have the right to collect Nazi memorabilia and have meetings every week in my apartment in Berlin. Well, maybe not.
Right.
We may or may not agree with that. It doesn't really matter. But you can't argue that China is doing the right thing. This is not a country that anyone would hold up as any sort of good example of anything.
There's a history of this. And prior to World War II, a lot of American companies were working in Germany with the Nazis, knowing perfectly well what was going on.
Absolutely. I think Henry Ford had strong ties.
He was an anti-Semite, so he didn't care. But companies like IBM...
That's what I meant by strong ties.
Yeah. He was a Nazi. But companies like IBM, where they had the same exact rationalization. Well, you're doing business in a country, you gotta, when in Rome.
Okay.
I
don't know. I see what you're saying, but
no, I'm with you. I think if you want to take the moral high ground, you take it from day one. You don't wait till you get hacked.
As it were, is not so much at Google. It is at the outside world sort of celebrating their decision. Like they've done the right thing. Let's clap them on the back.
I think what we have to say is they finally did the right thing, and they should have done it day one. But And they are
Microsoft
acting.
and China and Microsoft and Yahoo are still not doing the right thing.
They're not acting 100% altruistically. They're acting in their self-interest. But at least it's a little less.
I'm not 100% telling the truth, which is a cute way of saying I'm not. I am in fact lying. You know.
I see where you're going with this, Paul.
I see.
I think this is something new that we've done at almost every show for the last month. Is we start with the Paul rant, and I like that.
It's just it's not a plan so much as it is a way of life. You know,
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
This is a weird coincidence. My wife sent me a link to an article that was about exploring a Google-free life. And the thing that was really odd about this article, and it was really odd, was that it wasn't really so much a Google-free life as it was a life that is free of any major corporation whatsoever. So all of if you look at the Google services that one might partake in, you know, the search engine, obviously, email, calendar, all that stuff. You know, the alternative for Gmail in this article was not, you know, Yahoo Mail or Hotmail. It was some crazy mail no one's ever heard of, and some other crazy mail no one's ever heard of. And
crazy, it's actually crazymail.com.
It was literally like IamAninsanePerson.com. Yeah. So I just I don't think it's possible if you want to store documents online, if you want to exchange information online. I mean, you can run into some of the big companies, and frankly, when it comes to that information that is very personal and private and important to you, it may make more sense in some cases to trust it with one of those companies than to trust it with bobsfreestorage.com or whatever. So, you know, I was really intrigued by this article, but it made me think, you know, maybe it's time to look at this but not be insane about it. You know, like, are there alternatives to all of this Google stuff that makes sense, right?
Right.
The problem with doing that, of course, is that there is no one company, and this includes Microsoft, that offers everything that Google does in such a seamless kind of integrated fashion. You know, Microsoft is probably the closest, but there are still some weird holes there. And unfortunately, as I say this, any look at a Google free life would have to involve 20 different solutions, most of which came from different places. And I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense either. So I'm going to look into this, but I'm getting a little, you know, as is probably obvious now over the past couple of weeks, the Google stuff is getting a little much for me. You know, I'm getting tired of Google.
Well, I'd be very curious what a Google free life looks like. I mean, it really probably is a Microsoft life.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lonely existence is what it is, Leo.
I'm not willing to go there.
Well, you know, I think if you look at individual things, it's doable. But it is true. I mean, you know, if you have a smartphone like an Android device or an iPhone right now, and you want to have all your, you know, email and your contacts and your calendar wirelessly synced over the air automatically. You know, there's not right now today. There aren't that many great options for that other than Google that are free and, you know, that kind of stuff. I mean, you can do it if you want to do a lot of work, but yeah, I mean, that does make it hard. That's how they get you. Yeah, easy to use bastards.
Sons of beaches.
Fully
How
functional,
dare they be
completely integrated bastards.
How dare they be so good
yeah.
and evil. Now, that's a dangerous.
Not how Microsoft does things.
No,
come on.
No, come on.
Sometimes.
Did you? What was I was going to ask you something. Oh shoot! Now your rant has driven it out of my mind.
I'm sorry. Crazy people have that effect.
Well, we'll move on to item 2.
Daddy, why is that guy talking on the street corner? don't make eye contact.
This is why the British invented Hyde Park Speaker's Corner. You just go there, you put a little box up, and you can go, "You're not so good. You're evil." I know what I was going to say. I saw that as a result of the Ballot, Internet Explorer is starting to lose market share a little bit in Europe.
Yep. All according to plan, Leo.
Opera's evil plan.
Yeah.
And Opera's gaining share? How about Sleipnir?
So Sleipnir and those other guys they've complained about the browser Ballot, that they don't have enough prominence on it. Have you seen how it works? No. Have you seen the
I've seen the Ballot, yeah.
And it's random. Site, right? You can actually you can play with it. You can actually go see it. It's on the web. But what's funny about it is, and it's admittedly not clear, you can actually scroll over to the right to see the other 7. You know, the gang of 7, as I call them. But the 5 prominent browsers are right up front. They're right there. And, you know,
it's
honestly,
not random?
No, they are. Those 5 are random. Oh, actually, they're probably all random, but you only see 5 on the initial screen. If you want to see the other 7, you have to scroll. It's not natural on the web to scroll from left to right, on inside of a page, especially, and that's what it is. In fact, here, let me give you the.
What is the URL? Because I'd like to play with this. I mean, I've got galleries, I've got still images, but I'd like to really see what.
No, you have to go see the actual thing. It's. Is
it at Microsoft's site or?
Where is it? Hold, please. Here it is.
Working.
It is
working.
Internet. It's on the internet.
Working.
All right, browserchoice.eu.
Oh wow! So this is like the official.
Yeah, this is it.
So it pulls up a web page, or is this just a?
You load it in a browser.
Okay.
And so you can see the 5 top choices there.
But then you have to do this to see.
There is the scroll bar, which people don't.
Yeah,
you can see all the crazy ones.
So it's not. I thought it was going to be random.
It is random. Reload it.
Oh, but it's still the big ones on the left.
Oh, the top 5 are always the ones you see.
Oh, look at that. Well, that isn't right. If I were Sleipnir, I'd be very upset.
Why would Sleipnir have the right to be in the top 5 next to browsers that people actually use? I mean, that would almost compel me to make my own browser just to get on this picture. You know, that's crazy.
Green browser is your best choice of flexible and powerful green web browser.
When you click the Tell Me More button on the Sleipnir, it should actually make a laughing sound.
It comes from Fenrir for advanced users. I want to try Sleipnir. I think it's really, to me, it's pushed me in the direction of Sleipnir.
Wow.
Because I want to know why.
It's crazy.
Why?
Crazy.
It's based on Gecko, so it's really just a Firefox. That's the thing. These really aren't. So Flock is based on Firefox. Avant is based on Internet Explorer. Sleipnir is based on Firefox. Maxon is based on Internet Explorer. Kmelian, I'm presuming, is based on WebKit. No, it says Gecko as well.
Gecko,
Flash Peak. I don't know what it's based on.
Flash Peak?
Slimbrowser.flashpeak.com.
Tell me more about Flash Peak, please.
Slim browser.
It even looks like IE6. Look at that. Are you kidding me?
It's IE6.
Listen, let me tell you a story.
You know what? It might be. It's got VB script built in.
Many, many years ago, Leo, I wrote a book about Visual Basic 6 for the college market. And one of the projects in that book was create your own web browser.
Yeah.
Using the embedded version of IE.
Sure.
Very easy. You know, that browser I made looked better than FlashPeak. Are you kidding me?
Okay, FlashPeak.
Are you kidding me?
It probably is Internet Explorer. Let's see. Let's see what makes the green browser so green. It's from morequick.com.
It also, by the way, looks exactly like IE6.
Oh, except it's got it's done in the Courier font, and that's really what saves you so much energy.
It's because
we don't use fancy fonts in this browser.
There's no
siree.
Pixel rendering that will slow down.
And did you know that you could customize the green browser search bar?
Let's look at the praise they've received. For example, from someone named Jerry or Charlie Orlando.
Jerry says this is outstanding.
He believes that the green browser is actually a bit faster than either Maxton or the Slim browser.
Yeah, believes is the operative word.
There you
believe. Go. So okay, so we have this choice. We can install it or tell me more.
I'm sorry. This whole thing is freaking me out. I just don't get this.
So okay, I did it once. IE8 is #1. Google Chrome is #1. IE8 is #1. Safari is #1. So it does. Mozilla.
It literally is
random.
But only for the top 5.
Oh, right.
So
Didn't we have the story that it's not really random?
No, now it is. They fixed it.
Now it is.
It uses an enhanced randomizing technology.
Called random.
It's called random.
Actually random.
It's a function called random. Yeah. It turns out it's a very well-known quantity.
It uses state-of-the-art Visual Basic technology to create random numbers.
Yeah. What it does is it creates an array.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then it mixes it up.
It actually jumbles them together.
Uses the same technology used in advanced solitaire programs to shuffle the deck.
That's right.
Yes. All right.
You see what we're reduced to in the Windows world?
It's sad. You got nothing to talk about. So let's talk about something exciting.
Okay.
Mozilla drops Windows Phone support.
Oh.
Why, Mozilla? Why?
I swear to God, Mozilla is doing everything they can to get in that same bucket that I have right now with Google in it.
Oh, with Google.
The like you're dead to me pile, like, are you kidding me? So people who use and even love Mozilla Firefox, for example, I've been a Firefox user forever. I mean, since it was called Phoenix, since it was just sort of a weird little side project to just take the browser out of that big sea monkey thing and make it its own little fast light program. I've always loved the idea behind Firefox. But come on. These guys have never hit a release date, ever, right? Every time Mozilla announces we're going to ship this thing on this date, even the people who love this company laugh and know it's never going to happen, and it never happens, ever. So if, in case you haven't been following the mobile world, they still don't have a mobile browser for any platform in final form. I mean, they finally, very recently, just released a, I think it's for like a Nokia platform of some kind. They released a beta version, finally, of their first mobile browser or something like that. It's not like they have this proud history of making great mobile browsers. They've never really made one at all, not in any kind of mainstream form. Microsoft is making a Windows Phone platform. It's not the same as Windows Mobile.
How different is it?
Well,
from the developer point of view, because isn't that what they're saying?
So
is that
from a developer standpoint, in English, it's actually quite different, right? So in the Windows Mobile world, there was an SDK that was very similar to what you might use in the Windows world, kind of classic non-managed code programming, right. Windows CE based. Windows Phone is based on a newer version of Windows CE, but the big difference is that the developer platform, such as it is Silverlight based. So it's managed code. It's like .NET. Now, Mozilla's argument is that this is not native code, which is technically true, but it's all, they're making it sound like there's like a Visual Basic runtime or something. It's not like you're running P code on the thing. I mean, it gets, it's compiled to native code. It's still, that's the application platform. It's the way it is, and they said, we've done all our work on Windows CE, all that fine work they've done that we've never seen, and thus we can't port it over very easily, so now we're just not going to do it, which is, kind of the attitude you want from a major software development house, that, they're just not up to the challenge of writing something in a higher language. But, I find that whole thing sort of disgusting, frankly. But, I think the thing that people maybe need to understand is, and there's been some silliness about this too, the applications that Microsoft writes for Windows Phone, the ones that are built in, and I should say the applications as well as those kind of supra applications like the, the hubs that they have, right, which are actually applications. They're actually not written in Silverlight, and they're not written in with the same developer tools that Microsoft is providing to their developers, which of course leads to questions like, obviously Microsoft is using something superior. They're designed for better performance. They have access to APIs that, Silverlight developers don't have access to, yada, yada, yada. And actually, I think I've looked at objectively, that's probably all true. But the thing that people I think don't appreciate is that the tools that Microsoft uses to create these applications, which by the way are the same, or essentially updated versions of the tools they use to create the applications for the Zune HD, are terrible, right? They're not something they can give out to the public. They're just not. They're not of that level of quality. They're terrible. I mean, that's the only way to put it. So the real reason they're not providing the same developer tools is they want developers to have something that actually works, and that's easy to use, and they have visual designers and all that stuff. And that's not what Microsoft's doing, but I think it's fair to say that over time they intend to move to that kind of model. And this dates back to the Zune HD when I asked those guys, so you have this XNA Game Studio thing. Is that what you're using to develop the tool, the games that you're releasing for the Zune HD? And they said, no. We wish we had something that nice. It's unfortunately we can't use those. So, but that's the story there. So and it's
an open source project, so they're gonna maybe be a little finicky.
There will be browsers for Windows Phone, no doubt about it. But I think when you look at the mobile space, basically what you have are two major mobile web browsers. There's Safari by virtue of the fact that it's on the iPhone, which is by far the most popular. And also sort of subsets like the WebKit type browsers that are on Android, I guess. And then there's mobile Opera, right? And where Opera is a complete non-event on the desktop, on the PC desktop, it's actually very popular in the mobile space. And they're coming out with a version for the iPhone, I guess. And I think we can expect them to come out with one for Windows Phone. But if Mozilla, who is the number 2 player...
by the way, can I point out that it will never be allowed on the iPhone? I
think, well, you're probably right.
I mean, they're sitting in the store waiting for acceptance.
Yeah. Did you see they have a counter on their website?
It could be an empty box because...
They're so cute.
Yeah. Oh, any day now.
It literally, actually, if you run it, it says "Hello World."
Yeah. Yeah. They don't. They know that nobody's even going to run it.
Sure.
They're gonna. It's just they're gonna laugh. So there's a counter. That's funny.
Yeah, Opera has a counter. In other words, they've said we have submitted this. Now let's wait and see how long it takes Apple to okay it.
Because they know perfectly well.
Apple's the one company who would just be like, "Screw you, we're not doing this."
Right.
Of course. I'm interested to see how that falls out. But anyway.
Well, there's no way they have already a kind of a thing that says if it duplicates functions on the phone, we're not going to approve it.
Sure.
So it does.
Unfortunately, though, I mean, there are many examples of things that do duplicate functionality on the phone. Sure.
True. A good point.
It doesn't seem like Apple and Opera getting together for dinners at night. No. They don't seem like they're buddies to me.
No.
The browser looks pretty good. I mean, if you ever watched the video they made, it's pretty nice.
It's a nice video.
You should get an English speaker to narrate it. But
really? It's kind of like Frau, sir.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. He's understandable, but anywho, my fear from Mozilla is that they're just going to become irrelevant because the computing world is moving to these mobile devices, and they really have not had a compelling story. They still don't.
Right.
In the mobile space at all. And when a company like Opera, who is a complete also-ran on the PC space, can be as prominent as they are on the mobile side, it kind of shows you how different those two markets really are. And
really different. Yeah.
By just dropping out of the race completely for this next big mobile platform, this isn't really a snub of Microsoft or its users so much as it is just Mozilla broadcasting the fact that they don't intend to be relevant going forward. And it's like, we're going to do something on Android. Okay, great. And hopefully to this, to a slightly faster schedule than anything else you've ever done. And we're also going to support this thing called Memo. Neat. So, hey, have fun with that.
I have a Memo phone.
Do you? What is it called?
It's
the internet tablet.
It's Nokia. No, it's a Nokia N900. It's
N900. Yeah.
It's basically like a phone size, but thick, and it's got a tablet capability. And Memo is really Linux, Memo 5.
Yeah. Good.
So Firefox on that is really pretty much the same. It's not even a mobile, particularly mobile. Are we going to get any Bing updates soon? Not to change the subject.
Oh, that's okay.
Where the hell's my
I threw
Bing?
This one in here because I kind of have to, but the truth is, there's not much to say. I mean, Microsoft has committed to updating Bing over time, which they've done. And, by the way, they've done a kind of a neat job with that stuff. There's been a lot of stuff added to Bing over time. And what they just announced today was what they're going to be adding to Bing over the next, several weeks and months and so forth.
Cool?
And
I mean, they've updated the Bing app on the iPhone. It's really nice. It's very sweet.
It is nice. Yeah. And, right. And that's something, they don't get a lot of credit for. But actually, the Bing app on the iPhone is really nice. They're updating the UI, and that's basically layout stuff. But again, one of the things they've been really concerned about, and even Google has sort of responded to this, is the notion that when you search for things, it should be intelligent about what it is you're searching for and change the way that results are formatted for you based on what that is. So they have some examples up on their website of how this thing will format differently for different types of search results. But again, it's not widely deployed right now. So I think they said with that particular feature, 5% of users will see the new. We'll see the new UI immediately, and then over time, more and more people.
Oh, so you don't get it automatically?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. In other words, they've announced it, but it's not quite there yet. Right. There's some interesting Bing Map integration with Foursquare that I think has the.
I like that.
Very interesting.
Google's putting Buzz, on its maps, so it's kind of doing its own thing.
Yeah, and the idea is you're searching for something in a certain area, and you can find out more about what's available in that area from a service that has. Community feedback from people who liked or didn't like certain, restaurants or other places and so forth. I think stuff like that is a great idea. And then they're doing another one of their vertical searches, in this case for automobiles. So if you do a search for cars or whatever, they'll bring up all, they'll aggregate all the content from around the web and provide you with information for buying or finding out about the features and so forth. So
that's nice.
This is just stuff. Yeah, it's just, some updates to Bing and things that will be coming out, over the next I think it'll probably be a couple months before all of this is out there.
So I just got a text message.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first 140-character review of the new Windows mobile phone. We're going to talk about your opinion, and I will read this text message that I just got.
Okay.
Reviewing the HD2.
Yeah.
In 140 characters.
Okay.
Actually, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. It came in two parts, so it's 140 plus maybe at 15. 155 characters. So, Paulie, I got this review.
Okay, read it to me.
The HD2 is out.
Yes.
This is from Kevin N. I don't know who that is. He's in the 602 area code. So that's Arizona, right, Phoenix?
Yep.
I'm sending this from the HD2. It says so right here. Wow, it sucks. Well, you only have 140 characters. But the new HTC Incredible with 4.3 will be a must-have.
What?
After using a 4.3, I'm blown away. I don't know what he means. 4.3? Is that the size of the screen?
No, he probably means the software version of the
4.3.
HTC UI or whatever.
Uh-huh. Kevin N. So, really, the review is actually encapsulated in 3 words. Wow, it sucks.
You know,
now, have you tried it yet?
Yeah, I have. And that's not been the general consensus, actually.
He's all alone in there.
I'm not saying he's alone, but it is a Windows mobile phone after all. But
then it sucks.
No, I mean, HTC has a nice UI. That phone is sweet.
It looks beautiful.
Is thin and it's got a huge screen.
Is it essentially the same hardware as the Nexus 1, just with the Windows Mobile running on top of it? I mean, it looks like the Nexus 1.
No, I don't think it's the same. It's okay. So it's like a 1 gigahertz Snapdragon, right?
Yep, that's the Nexus 1.
Yeah, it's got a big screen, high res. It's got 651 on it. It's nice,
but they've skinned it with their own HTC stuff, which means it's not.
Well, you can get rid of that if you want. You can go back to the the Windows.
It looks
mobile
like Droid
stuff.
with all
the thing that's right. So because the HTC UI is basically the same between the two systems.
Right.
But you can go down to 651 if you want. Just use the Microsoft UI, and because it has a capacitive touchscreen, for once it actually works. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is this has got a smaller shelf life than any phone that's ever been created. Microsoft. Think about it. In January, it's on T-Mobile, right? T-Mobile announced we are soon going to be offering this phone, the brand new Windows Mobile 6.5 phone. And then in February, Microsoft announced, hey, by the way, we're not making Windows Mobile anymore.
Yeah, this is it. This is it.
And then a month later, this thing comes out. And it's like, oh, I don't know.
It is a bigger screen. It looks like a bigger screen than
it is humongous.
Yeah,
it's a big screen. Yeah.
That looks.
It's got an incredible camera.
5 megapixel. Yep.
Yeah.
Dual LED flash. It's really bright.
It is beautiful. And it basically has everything it needs to have to work with the Windows Phone 7 stuff. It doesn't have the exact same 4 buttons and all that stuff. But the hardware basically is right there.
So but, you could flash it, maybe, you think?
I think there are going to be workarounds. The HTC hardware has historically been an excellent platform for getting new Windows Mobile versions on there surreptitiously. So I think there'll be something there. But
it's a holistic experience that's based on putting people at the center by simply making things work the way they should.
Wow, it's interesting and very close to Microsoft's marketing mantra for Windows Phone. But anywho, the problem is it's an orphan, right? As beautiful as that thing is, it is still running on Windows Mobile, which kind of stinks.
They make such nice stuff.
Yeah, it's a tough one because the type of people who would want that phone know that it's an orphan, right? I mean, if you're technically savvy enough to want this huge, beautiful HTC thing, you kind of already know it's dead in the water. So it's kind of a tough decision. I thought for a while there that I was going to get one.
It's actually gorgeous. I'm looking at it.
It is. It's absolutely in person. It's even better. I mean, you can't believe how thin the thing is. Yeah. It's really nice.
Well, there have to be people who have to buy a Windows Mobile phone now, right? And so that would be a good choice. Prisoners.
People in Guantanamo Bay. What are we talking about?
I don't know.
French people. What are we?
It's been available in France since Christmas, by the way.
That's true, right? That's true. Yeah. It has been available internationally since late last year. Yeah.
I'm really. I had my finger on the buy button, but then you told me I shouldn't.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I have to say, I'm not a fan of Windows Mobile 6.
I think it's okay. I think the big problem is the lack of capacitive touchscreen support, which this gets out of the way.
Right.
But again, in the theme of, things change as time passes, I know that's confusing for people. But
wait a minute, what?
Now that Windows Phone has been announced, and they've said that this thing won't be compatible with those existing phones, I mean, it kind of takes the luster off of it. So, 2 months ago, if this thing had come out, I would have been like, yeah, this is the way to go. If you have to, Windows Mobile, this is good.
Yeah.
But now that we know that Windows Mobile is on the way out to be replaced with something better and so forth, I mean, it makes it less interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. This would have rocked the world a year ago.
Yep.
Well, it just shows that it takes a little while to integrate. Kind of Apple. It's been 3 years since the iPhone came out, and it's taken everybody, including HTC, 3 years to kind of match it. Yeah,
I would say 3 years exactly. I think the Android system, as it is now, like 2.1, whatever the
very
latest
close.
version is,
2.1
is as close as
very close
as it can be.
And this is pretty close. This looks good. I like the HTC overlay.
Well, but what you're also looking at though is the embarrassment of Windows Mobile, right? Because you almost can't buy a Windows Mobile phone without getting some other UI on top
Somebody
of it.
fixing it.
The UI is so horrible that people feel the need to replace it. Right? HTC has made a business out of it.
Right.
Interesting. Although again, I honestly 6.5, the start screen and all that stuff they have, it's nice. I like it. I also would admit publicly I'm in the minority on that one, but I think it's fine.
They're saying on Buzz that you're even more cranky than Dvorak lately.
I just
high
gave it
praise.
a compliment.
High praise.
That hurts.
High praise.
I would never just throw a grenade in a room and run away laughing.
Oh, God. He used to do that. That was like his joke at CES every year.
Yeah.
Or Comdex, I guess. That's
sure.
how long ago that was. Ha ha.
If I'm cranky, it's just because things stink.
You have a reason to be.
I want things to be better. I want to be happy. That's the difference.
How's the keyboard? I mean, this looks so much like the Droid. How's the touchscreen keyboard on the HD2?
It's beautiful. The whole thing is nice.
Yeah.
The only weirdness about it is, like I said, it's super thin, but that there's a little bump for the camera. Because the camera, to fit the optics and so forth, it's thicker than the rest of the case. So there's that little bump. But that's you don't, when you hold the thing, you don't feel it because it's up near the top. It's where it belongs.
Right.
If you ever try to use a camera on that, the iPod Nano, it's on the wrong end of the device.
Yeah,
it's where you're holding
you always
it,
put your thumb over it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so stupid. But obviously on the phone, it's in the right place. But no, it's a beautiful device. It really is. It's just that, with any new device purchase, typically, unless you buy it unlocked, you're also buying a 2-year contract.
I have to say, now looking at this, I see where the Apple lawsuits come from, because essentially the HTC UI is they've got cover flow, they've got slide to unlock, they put all the things. So I see now why they didn't sue Google. They're suing HTC over this particular slick little thing that what do they call that?
Touch flow, I think,
touch
or
sense,
HD sense, touch sense.
Sense. For your senses.
Its names are legion.
As hard as you look, you won't see everything that's special about the HTC HD2. Like the ringer.
So stop squinting.
I'm looking really hard. I don't see it.
I can't see everything.
I can't see it. Have you been following the shooting war? First of all, you got Apple, Google shooting at each other. Now you got Amazon and Apple bitching at each other over the bookstores. What's going on?
Well, this is the battle over the new platform. This is what we've been talking about for a while. The world is moving away from what it was, PCs on desks, and it's moving to these little mobile devices.
Yes, you're right.
And everyone's kicking and screaming
you're right.
Getting their position and all that kind of stuff.
Whenever you get these kinds of phase changes, these paradigm shifts, there's always this kind of disconnection and losers and winners. And I mean, look what happened to Palm. Palm just kind of,
I know.
Bye-bye. You see him in the rearview mirror distantly.
It's often true that the company that is there first and innovates gets run over by the giants. If they prove that something makes sense and can make money, other people are going to want in. When Amazon was over there on the side doing the little ebook thing, everyone kind of laughed because Microsoft had eBooks 10 years ago. Nobody bought those things, and they made a pretty decent platform on the PC where reading a book didn't make sense. But the Amazon Kindle took off. Obviously, when you look at a Kindle, it's black and white. It's slow. There are issues there. And a company like Apple, can do some stuff that Amazon hasn't done yet, and obviously Apple has a lot of experience with user experience and so forth. So there's some value to be had. But yeah, I think the thing that's interesting, when I look at the iPad, and I don't know if you heard, Apple, by the way, next week is going to release this device. Probably haven't talked too much about it yet on your shows, but people have given all these attributes to this device like it's something magical or whatever. But when I look at it, I see two things, and they're both very valuable to me personally. One is a device that is big enough where I can watch a movie or a TV show on a plane, and that means a lot to me because you cart around these heavy laptops, you can't open them on a plane, or you're scared to death the guy in front of you is going to throw a seat back and destroy the screen or whatever. It would be nice to have something that I could actually see, but was still really flat and light, and that's what the iPad is. I like it for that. But the other thing I've been doing literally every single day since the first Kindle came out is I've been reading eBooks on these devices, and also newspapers. And every morning I get up and I read the New York Times on the Kindle. When the iPad comes out, I'll be switching the New York Times over to the Kindle because I want to experience what that's like. But we're in a weird transitionary phase here. I mean, I'll assuming it's out on day one, I will look at their native application, which will come with a monthly cost, and I will also look at the iPhone version of the Kindle application as shown on the iPad, because that's what we'll have to deal with on day one, and see how that works, And then eventually there'll be a Kindle native application, for the iPad, right? That's designed specifically for that screen size and so forth.
They've already announced it. They both,
right, but
Barnes and
it
Noble and Amazon.
It won't be out on day one. It won't be there.
Oh, it won't be on day one? I thought they said it would.
No, it's going to be a couple of months or something.
Oh, okay. They said we're going to do it, but they didn't say we'll have it in day one. It's an interesting challenge for anybody, and we're doing some software for, Houdini 7 at ShiftKeySoftware.com is doing software for us for the iPad. And you'd like to be there on day one because obviously there'll be a smaller number of applications, and but you don't have a way to test it
with the device in house.
You have no way to test it except in the emulator.
Gotta love how Apple works, by the way. So
it's unbelievable. I've never heard of a hardware company not seeding.
Yeah. Well, they did seed them apparently to the top 5.
Oh, they did.
I think the Wall Street Journal got a copy. I think the New York Times got one. Electronic Arts. There was a couple of companies that got them. But yeah, for 99% of the world, you have to run it in the emulator and pray to God that the characteristics of the system are the same. And by the way, if you're making a game, especially, you can't release something on day one. Who knows what that's going to run like on the real hard?
And of course, there's this additional problem of Apple's really slow approval process, which means if you have a bad bug, you may not get the fix out for months.
Actually, if you're an iPad developer, you're probably in good shape because they're going to want to have these things come out very quickly at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, I think the two big deals for these types of devices, and I would extend this to include such things as tablet PCs and even netbooks that have tablet type screens, is an opportunity to read different types of content in different ways, and I think that the iPad's going to be a nice machine for newspapers and for books, and I'm curious. I know that the machine's not going to have the same battery life, for example, that the Kindle has, but it also has nice layout and color, and it's going to have the photos and all that stuff, and there is a part of the experience that you do miss on the Kindle, and I think one of the interesting comparisons that should be had is not just the sheer beauty of the applications themselves and how they may differ from machine to machine, but rather how the different machines and their presentation affects what you read. One thing I've been commenting on to my wife recently is that on the Kindle, as you look through the digest of the stories that are available in that day's newspaper, because of the way they do headlines, you often get these contorted things where you can't even tell what the story is about. It will say something like national, Massachusetts, Boston, Congress says, ...
I love that. I see that all the time.
What the heck? And then the because that thing is so long, the little blurb says, in the state of Massachusetts today, ... Oh, come on. And you have no idea what that story is.
You've got to open the browser.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's very frustrating.
So I wonder sometimes on the Kindle if I'm not, in fact, skipping over stories I might want to read simply because it's too ponderous to go into each story and see. Whereas one of the nice things about an actual newspaper, and I don't think we're actually even aware that we do this, but if you're looking at the page of the paper, you can scan with your eye over the page. And sometimes, literally, the layout of the story, the fact that there's a photo associated with it, will make you linger on it for a second longer. maybe there'll be some call out, a quote from the story that's in larger text where it catches your eye and it makes you read it, or at the very least, you remember that it was there. So when someone says, hey, did you hear about that thing that's going on in Argentina? And you're like, yeah, I didn't actually read the story, but I did see something about that in the paper. Whereas in the Kindle, you just like click, click, you don't really read it. So I'm curious on the iPad if the better presentation results in more reading, essentially.
There's a book that I want to buy, a programming book about Objective-C, and I have the last version, and I checked, and the new version is available on the Kindle.
Interesting.
And I almost bought it, and then I thought, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let me see. Well, no, I think not on the Kindle for programming book, but I'm wondering how it would be on the iPad. So I'm waiting to see if it's available in the iBook store.
Well, no. Why not just buy the Kindle version and use the Kindle app on the iPad?
Well, okay, that's a good point.
Right, because one thing that's a good point. I think a lot of people don't understand this, and I actually stumbled on this by mistake, is the Kindle books that have photos and whatnot, if those things were color originally,
they would show up in color.
They are actually in color in the Kindle version.
Oh, okay.
You just don't see them on the Kindle device. But if you look at them on the PC, and by the way, there's a Kindle app.
I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, there's a Kindle app on the Mac and on the PC. You can test it to see for yourself. If there's some kind of presentation occurring around different fonts, like in a programming book, you might have code blocks that would be in a certain font or whatever. That stuff will translate through very well on a higher res screen on the Mac or PC or whatever, and presumably on the iPad as well when that happens.
So what I'm going to do, actually, this will be a good review thing, is to get the iBook Store version, and I'll have to do that with some book,
and
compare it to the Kindle version on the iPad.
Yeah, and I'm going to be doing that with the New York Times, because the New York Times is a really interesting thing because it's available.
I think a dedicated New York Times app is going to be better than...
Well, we're going to see. See, that's the thing. Think about the many ways in which the New York Times is available. Obviously, there's a paper version, right?
There's a great Air version.
There's a Times Reader application that you have to pay a certain amount for every month.
Or if you're a subscriber, you get it for free. And since I'm a paper subscriber, I get it for free, which is great.
There's a native application on the iPhone and probably on other devices. There is the website, right, which probably a mobile version of the website as well. There'll be an iPad version. There's a Kindle version. There's a Kindle version that will maybe look a little different on the iPad in a month or two down the road. This is an interesting example of a publication that's available in like almost a dozen different ways.
It's a really good test bed, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Not that it's necessarily representative, but in the case of that exact paper, it will be interesting to see how the layouts change and how the experience differs, as you go from device
I think you watch carefully what the Journal, the Times, USA Today do. These all three are national newspapers who have a huge stake in somehow keeping themselves alive, and they're not doing well, at Times particularly. And they'll be the these guys are smart. They'll be the leader here. In fact, one of the things they might do, who knows, is make a web version that's optimized for these smaller devices with HTML5. I mean, that's another way to go, right?
Why not? Yeah.
Why not?
It's something to watch. That's all. I have a large library of Kindle books that I've built up over the past couple of years. And I think the one thing that's nice is, even if, the iPad beats the Kindle from a device standpoint in the marketplace, the Kindle platform, I think, is still strong enough to survive. I mean, they have an incredible library that's just not really, and when I say library, I don't mean actual sheer number of books, but sheer number of books you actually want to read, actual.
That's key. Yeah, that's key.
It's not like the indie music collection, it's the actual music collection.
By the way, I've been trying to buy the Juju the whole time we've been talking, and it won't let me. No, I'm on the site. I gave them all the information and etc. and pressed the order now button, and it takes you back to the front page. It does not. It's bogus.
We're confused that someone actually wanted to order this.
Did not expect that.
Yeah.
Are you sure you mean to submit? No.
This said you were going to buy it.
I pressed the buy it now button.
Yeah.
And it won't let me. So there you go.
I think this is a sign.
You have to question their commitment to selling this product. Already. Let's do our Windows 7 feature of the week, a new feature of the show every week now, because we know you're all using Windows 7, right? We are going to talk about and highlight something cool, something you might not have been aware of in Windows 7.
Leo, I wrote this book.
If everybody would just buy it, I have it on the Kindle. Oh, do you think Wiley will offer it on the iPad? That might be the perfect example because you have...
Yeah. So there is a Kindle version of the book.
And I have it.
and you can buy a protected PDF version of the book. And it seems like the Kindle screen would be ideal for that.
Are your screenshots in color?
That's interesting. So they were sent in color, but I'd have to. I'll look.
I wonder
right
if they
now.
stripped the color out.
I can tell you. I will look.
Oh, because you could look on the iPhone.
I bet they are.
I'll look for you. You do your tip, and while you're looking.
No. The book in the book themselves, in the printed book, they're not in color. Right?
No, I know. I have the book, but I also bought it, and I have the Kindle app.
You have the Kindle. Well, no, right.
So I should, if it were in color.
I can look at the final PDF and tell you. I mean.
All right, you do that.
I have a feeling they're not in color. It will just take 1 second. No, they're not in color.
Archived items. Let me go to the archived items. That's one of the nice things about
they're grayscale.
the Kindle app. Black Beauty, Blue Mars, Eric Clapton, the autobiography, the Monty Python Dynasties, Gibraltar Earth, Generation Kill.
20 years of Japanese porn.
Wait a minute. Let's skip that one. Windows 7 Secrets, Paul Thurrott. Downloading to home. So now I'm going to put that on here. The cover is in color.
Yep.
That's a nice thing. Now, this might take a while, so let's do our Windows 7 feature.
Let's do the tip.
Of the week.
The feature, yes. So this week's feature, and this is one I actually have not written an article for, so I will have one up by the weekend, but it is for Windows backup. And this is something that's improved dramatically in the sense that the backup program that Microsoft provided with Windows XP was, A, both hidden on the CD, the setup CD, and not pre-installed, and B, was actually just a bad joke. And we're actually unclear why that was even there.
You're glad that it was hidden. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in Windows Vista, they dramatically overhauled it, and it was pretty nice. But the problem was, as you move through the different Windows Vista product editions, the capabilities of the backup program changed pretty dramatically. And in Windows 7, they've improved it yet again, but the big improvement this time is it's much simpler to figure out what's available. So in every version of Windows 7, every product edition, you get the full range of backup and restoration capabilities, which means that you can do data backup and file recovery, right? And you can also do a system image, a complete system image, where it literally takes the entire state of the PC, backs the whole thing up, and if you want to wipe out your computer and start over again from scratch, you can get it back in this way. And that's really nice. The only sticking point is that if you want to back up over the network, you have to have Windows 7 Professional or higher. It won't work with Home Premium.
Okay.
And that was why a few weeks back I did a series of articles on, how you can take Windows. Yeah, you have Windows 7 Home Premium because that's the most popular version. How do I get some of that additional functionality? So you'd have to basically get a third-party solution. But as long as what you're trying to do is just back up to like a USB attached hard drive, Windows backup in Windows 7 is actually pretty fantastic. And it works across the board. I'd say that the next step up from this really is if you happen to have Windows Home Server, that does centralized PC, system image backups to the home server, which is an even better way to do it, obviously.
Oh, it does image. It does an image.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. But Windows backup as it stands in Windows 7 is actually pretty great. And if if you're coming at it from Windows XP, which I think a lot of people are. You probably are coming from a world where you believe that Windows doesn't have a backup program at all, because it basically didn't. But now it has something that's pretty superior. So unless you need that network-based backup,
I have to say that's one thing I really like about Windows 7 is they took a lot of the built-in apps and they really made them good. Like even WordPad.
Yeah.
I mean, where you would really want to use them. I don't feel the need for a word processor. WordPad is so good.
WordPad actually works with the docx format, for example, which is interesting. And yeah, it's nice.
That's kind of a hidden benefit that it's not immediately obvious. I'm still downloading. Boy, this is
okay.
How big
is
this?
This thing is huge. I know.
Still downloading.
Actually, the book is so big that when you download it to your phone actually gets heavier.
It might crash.
No, it gains an ounce.
It's so heavy. All those bits, they add up.
I can promise you this: whatever book I write in the future, it's not going to be as big as that.
Practically,
that's it. I've reached that was my Stephen King, The Stand.
It's The Stand. It's The Stand. Yep. Oh, that's how I'm going to sell it from now on. This is The Stand of Windows books.
Yeah, literally, there's an insane guy trying to burn the world down, and it's Yep.
And now
the world ends in Las Vegas. It makes sense.
The Windows 7 tip of the week, as opposed to the laptop tip of the week, which It's provided by Targus. Hey, we could sell. See, this if we were really creative, we could sell ads like the tip of the week. You could do the tip of the week.
And I know this is out the box, but you might consider turning this into a money-making venture.
Oh, no, I don't know. I don't think that's. I like doing this pro bono, pro sunny bono. Actually,
my community service.
Yeah, it is. I told the judge that. Sure. I shall do a podcast about Windows, Your Honor.
For the crimes against cable TV, Mr. Laporte. You will spend 10 years on the internet.
So Windows Snap is a feature of, is it Arrow? I guess it's an Arrow feature.
I called it,
Arrow Snap.
I don't know the name. I don't know anything about Windows, so I called it the wrong thing. It's called Arrow Snap. Yeah, that is correct. We talked about this as a feature of the week, and we were talking about how you can drag windows over to the side and all that kind of stuff. But, one of the things that's actually, it is in the article I wrote about it, but it's not really spelled out in this fashion. One of the weird things about Arrow Snap is if you want to snap the windows to the edges of the screen, and you're in a multi-monitor setup,
what happens then?
You can't do it with the mouse because, as you move it over, of course, it goes to the next screen over.
Right.
So I actually got a couple of questions about this, and the solution is just to use the keyboard shortcuts.
Oh,
so if you're on that first monitor and your second monitor is over to the right, and you want to, dock the current window on the right side of the screen, just use this, hold down the start button and hit the right arrow key, and it will move it. It will dock it right there, and it gives you that thing that you can't do with the mouse. And the other thing is, and we did talk about this, I believe, when we talked about this as a feature, you can toggle it across all of the available surfaces. So if you have two monitors and you hold down the window, the Windows key and keep tapping on the right arrow key, right, it will latch in turn to the right side of the first screen, the left side of the second screen, the right side of the second screen, and then all the way back over to the left side of the first screen. And it's a handy one just to know about if you're using Windows or Arrow Snap.
So impressed that you could keep that straight in your head. The left side of the right screen, the right side of the left screen, the left over the top, and the top over the bottom.
I actually missed one because it also goes to the middle of the second screen. But anyway, you get the idea.
I get the idea.
You get the idea. There's a lot of stuff.
We've got a couple of Beavers in here who are nodding. They're Windows users.
nodding knowingly.
They're nodding knowingly. They're saying, in fact, one of the Beavers did this. Tip with his fingers.
Yes, there you go.
He knew that was the way to do it.
Yeah.
We've got a couple, three students in here at University of Oregon. Where do you go, Michael? Oh, they're all three Beavers.
I see. They're all doing community service.
Yeah. They believe it or not, they're on spring break. And many students would go, I don't know, somewhere where there are girls.
Yes.
Crazy, I thought, but they came to the TWiT cottage. And later we're going to have a wet T-shirt contest just for them.
Yeah, I won't be around for that, sadly.
Okay.
But, let me know who wins. Also, I provide a link there, and I guess this will be in the show notes. But Microsoft very recently, published a page about just general keyboard shortcuts.
Oh, that's nice.
In Windows 7.
That's what they study at the University of Oregon.
Yeah. So there's some basic ones in there. And I would imagine the thing we just did is hopefully mentioned in there.
It has 20 PC shortcuts you need to know. Yeah. And, they start with control, copy, pastes,
Right. Here's a fun one. So, for example, if you hit Windows key plus space, it does the arrow peak,
I love that.
Desktop thing.
There it is. And then you can get, as according to Microsoft, even funkier.
Yes.
With window management. I'm so funky. I'm going to get funky and press Control, Windows, Shift, Arrow. You know what happens then?
I'm sorry. I'm not even listening. Windows, Shift, Arrow.
Control, Window, key, Shift,
Arrow. You don't have to, hold on. You don't have to.
Moves an open window to another monitor. Isn't that slick? And then, of course, the Windows key, Arrow, the snap.
Yep.
So if you add Control, Shift to the snap, you'll move them.
On the bottom of that page, there's a link to the complete list,
which is in the help file, right?
Yeah.
I'll click this link, but nothing's going to happen.
If you're a crazy keyboard guy, and I like to, as a touch typist, I like to keep my hands on the keyboard when I can. It's nice to have these things available, and then the ones you want to use, you can memorize those.
Yeah. It's it's one of those things that if you want to be a really pro user, what you do is
not use a mouse.
Yeah. But no, seriously, you use Windows for a while and then say, okay, now I kind of get it. Now you look at the help files for these really helpful tips, and pretty soon when somebody like Colleen, when I see Colleen using Windows, I know she's a pro because she's
Here's the most. This might be the most obscure keyboard shortcut that I use all the time.
Oh, let's hear it.
This is
now. Just tell us the shortcut, and we'll have a contest among the Beavers.
Okay, it's Shift plus F10.
Shift. Don't touch your keyboard, everybody. Shift F10. Let's see if the chat room.
That's an obscure one.
Let's see if the chat room knows. Shift F10. They're going. Nope. I feel like this is College Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah. Mike, University of Oregon. What?
Wrong.
What is? Oh, I'm sorry. It launches a command prompt during setup. No.
Well, maybe, but I mean, when you're using Windows,
Yeah, when Windows is running, what happens when you press Shift F11?
No, Shift F10.
Shift F10. No one knows.
Right click.
Oh! So Todd Clint got that. Todd, you're brilliant.
Yep, context menu. So whatever's selected at the time, you get the pop-up menu. You can use that. So, for example, why would you ever need such a thing? I mean, you select things with the mouse. But what if you're typing in Word, which is where I use this,
and you want to right-click,
and you want to do something on the cart? You want to select a word and actually do something to it. You can select it, obviously, with the keyboard. Shift 10, pop-up menu, select the option you want. You're good to go. You never touch the mouse. That, my friend.
That's
how we do it in the house.
Amazing. You are amazing, Paul Thurrott.
No.
We have 2 software picks because Paul's never content to just do, he never does anything nice and easy.
I actually have 3. I have a third one.
He always does things nice and rough. So we're going to do this nice and easy Audible pick, and then we're going to take the same pick.
It's like the Flintstones. Nice and easy.
Nice.
That's the way you do it.
And easy. So before we get to our software, let's say hello to friends that do such a great job at audible.com. Mm-hmm. It's a library, really, of audio listening. I just love Audible. I'm a huge Audible fan. Just finished Daniel Suarez's Demon, now reading Freedom, trademark, and it is...
Listen, Freedom is even better.
It's
even better.
it.
And the funny thing about Freedom is, when it first starts, I'm thinking, geez, this is more of the same. I don't know. But then it goes off in this crazy... It's awesome. It is awesome.
He is like Dan Brown for geeks. Yep. It's like the way I think of it is, if Michael Crichton had written a book about this type of stuff, right,
this would have been it.
Yeah. And I don't know where this guy came from,
but
he's
information.
good.
Like, he really knows what he's talking about.
Oh, I love it. And so if you haven't yet gotten either of the Daniel Suarez books, Freedom is a sequel to Demon, so read Demon first. But and the performance, very good.
Now that you've finished the first one, I can tell you what I wanted to tell you before.
But now, no spoilers.
No. I mean, now that you finished the first one,
yeah,
I can tell you that the disappointing part about that first book was, and God, reading it before Freedom came out, this was like the end of Halo 2.
Yeah.
It's a cliffhanger.
You go.
There's no warning at all that this book doesn't end.
It just stops.
It just comes to a stop, and you're like, what?
What happened? What happened?
Yeah, there's no resolution at all.
But that's the beauty of waiting, because and now I know why Tom Merritt and Veronica Belmont were so excited at CES when Freedom came out, because they'd been waiting for the sequel. So
which is really just a continuation of the story.
Yeah, it's like part 2.
It literally picks up.
Now, have you finished Freedom, TM?
Oh yeah.
So does it end with Freedom, or is there going to be a third one?
Do you really want to know?
No. But that is not our recommendation. However, if you've not listened to an
we already recommended it. That's why.
If you've not listened to an audiobook ever, it would be a good start, because you will get so engrossed in this. It's the kind of book where you sit in the driveway with the engine running so you can keep listening even though you're home. If you want a way to make your commute painless, audible.com/windows. Plays on almost any portable device, not yet on Android devices, but soon, I'm told. But on the Zune, on the iPhone, on the iPod, on the Sansa, the iRiver, even many GPS devices, Kindle. Go to audible.com/windows and take a look. And you've got a recommendation for a book. Are you reading this right now?
Yeah, I was originally going to. I had seen this in a bookstore of all places. Imagine that. I was originally going to recommend Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Hunter. Have you seen this one?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I haven't actually read that one. So yeah. But then I was amazed to discover that there is in fact a sequel to Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is absolutely classic.
There's a sequel to it?
It's a sequel that just came out, and it's called Dawn of the Dreadfuls. And again, you know, written by Jane Austen and Steve Hawkins, which is, I just think
is he channeling Jane Austen, or?
It's this, yeah, absolutely, yes.
That's wonderful. And well, let's listen to just a little bit. I just want to, you know, I'm curious what that could possibly sound like. Oh, they put the beginning.
Audible Inc. presents Pride and
Isn't this a nice? By the way, this is an Audible produced.
Of the Dreadfuls.
And a lot of the books now are Audible produced.
Well, you
from
can
their
tell,
front
you know, this
series.
one they know it's going to be a big deal.
Listen to the music. Now, Catherine Kellgren reads this.
Chapter 1.
She's got this great British accent.
Yeah.
Walking out in the middle of a funeral would be, of course, bad form. So attempting to walk out on one's own was beyond the pale.
All right, I love it already. Great first sentence. That's great. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, Dawn of the Dreadfuls. Our recommendation. You can get it for free. Just go to audible.com/windows. Have you finished it, or are you in the middle of it?
No, I just got it, but it's.
I love the beginning.
The first one. And obviously, if you haven't done the first one, get the first one first.
Yeah.
This is like revisiting the worst part of high school, but it's actually enjoyable. You know.
Well, and there's zombies.
It's bizarre.
Everything's better with zombies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Zombies are the bacon of fiction. They just improve whatever they're added to.
Yeah.
And by the way,
I agree with that.
I've been gotten a number of emails, and I have to really apologize to our listeners outside of the U.S. Fishes in our chat room saying, I get sad whenever you talk about Demon because we can't get it. Penguin has not released the audio version outside the U.S. Yeah. And this is not, please don't blame Audible for this. Believe me, Audible would love to sell this to you. It's these crazy publishers have these, you know, every country has their own deal.
This is something I don't know a lot about, but I'm wondering, and it's likely possible, certainly, that you have talked about this on one of your other podcasts, you know, the Google one or whatever. You know, there's a way when you're outside of the country, or outside of this country, to, you know, fake your IP, isn't there? Isn't there like a, you can,
proxy server.
So, a proxy server. So if you were to use something
not the IP address, it's the credit card.
It's the credit
You'd
card.
need to have a U.S. credit card to buy it. And some people, you know, do that. If you've got friends in the U.S. or whatever, it's not unheard of to do that.
They do have the reverse problem. You know, in France and a lot of Europe, they have these credit cards with pins on them, or chip.
Right, you can't use them here. Yeah.
Well, but we can't use our cards there, you know. And the big problem is a lot of the machines out there, especially associated with train tickets and so forth.
I couldn't buy gas.
Only take the PIN cards.
I was driving around France and I couldn't buy gas because it didn't take a regular credit card.
It can be alarming depending on where you are. And,
it was very alarming.
Yeah.
I had no gas.
Yeah, but you can. There is literally no bank in the U.S. where you can get this kind of a card. And you know, we've talked to our friends a couple times about possibly figuring something out. You know, to get a French credit card or something. You know, just to have a way to do that.
Yeah,
because it really is a pain.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Well, I'm glad there's still some pain associated with travel because, you know, it used to be all pain. Yeah, you know, I remember when I first went to Europe, you didn't know what the baseball scores were. You had to wait till they came out 3 days later in the International Herald Tribune.
Listen, this year we will be watching the Red Sox on actually probably on an iPad.
Exactly. Over the internet
of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
You know,
I bought it too, $15.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and I remember you remember waiting in line at the American Express office in Paris so that you could get traveler's checks or get your mail.
Traveler's checks are so passé, aren't they?
Nobody, you know, it's all gone. It's too easy to travel now. So I'm glad there's a little pain left.
Okay. I'd like there to be no pain, but I see what you're saying.
It's what made us strong, Paul, in our youth.
It's what really, that's true. It wasn't all handed to us on a silver platter.
Exactly.
Kids
today, they don't know what travel is. There's a Hilton in every town, an ATM machine that dispenses the proper currency.
Hard Rock Cafe.
Hard Rock Cafe if you need a burger.
Stupid
kids
American
today.
Stuff.
Audible.com/Windows. Thank you very much for your support, Audible. We love you. Keep up the good work. Keep cranking out. I love it that they're recording audiobooks of stuff that the publishers even aren't. They go to the publishers and say, look, we know you're not going to make an audiobook of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, so can we...
Or you're not going to do it right.
Right, you won't do a good job, abridged or whatever. Can we... And I just think, thank you, Audible. So, software, my friend. Software. Pick of the week number 1 of 3.
Is it?
You said. I'm following you.
Let me look.
I have Microsoft's image composite editor.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
You said it 3 minutes ago. I have a memory of that.
I do have a history of being a hypocrite, Leo.
You could be lying. Are you pulling out of China?
Liar.
Paul,
What's that?
Are you pulling out of China, Paul?
I would never pull out of China.
Never.
So,
by the way, just so you know, still downloading. How big is this?
Something's wrong.
No, it's a big book.
It's a big. What's it like? Downloading a word at a time? What is
Wi-Fi.
That? What is that?
It's the iPhone. I'm on Wi-Fi.
That is an iPhone. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you think something wrong. I could bail out of it.
I would bail out of that.
All right.
Go back, see if it's in there.
Home. Okay. It still says it's downloading.
The first of 3, courtesy of Matt Reeves. Thank you for this. Is Microsoft Image Composite Editor, and this is one of many panoramic image stitchers, which is interesting anyway. But what's really interesting about this one is you can save these panoramas to all kinds of different formats, including a 3D format that can be uploaded to the Photosynth website. And that's that awesome site that they typically use for travel photos, where you're standing in a virtual representation of St. Mark's Square in Venice or whatever, and you can turn around and it posits all these pictures that other people have taken into a single interactive environment. But in this case, if you do that thing where you stand up on the top of a mountain and you take one picture and you move a little bit, take another one, do that kind of thing. You can actually create like a 3D panoramic, vision of that you can put up on the web or whatever. So
this is a 66 megapixel image of the Golden Gate Bridge, and that's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really
so
neat.
Cool. Oops.
So that's a cool one.
And it's free.
And it is free. Yeah, Microsoft Research, where all good things come from. The other 2 are related, and one of them is I sent. I guess we talked about Robocopy.
We talked about Robocopy, yeah.
And I don't remember doing that, but we talked about Robocopy.
Yeah, well, Steve Gibson, maybe you remember this, was having trouble getting his files from our Pogo plug because Windows would bail halfway through. I mean, they're gigabyte files. So somebody suggested, use Robocopy. And it worked for him. It was even faster. But the guy who wrote it, Joshua Hoffman, has written something else.
Oh, is this the same guy?
It's the same guy.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah. So actually, there are 2 replacements for Robocopy, both of which are supposed to be better. Almost right on top of each other, I got 2 emails, one from Dwayne Bullock and one from Joe Brady, who recommended something called Rich Copy 4.0. And this is a multi-threaded copying tool, right? Meaning you can copy many things in parallel, including over a network. But one of the really cool things about it is you can pause a copy. So if the network goes down, you pick the laptop and move away. And then you can just resume it and pick up where you left off.
Auto resume is so important.
Yeah, and then there's a what appears to be a similar program. It actually has a much simpler UI, and I'm thus guessing that the free version of this is not as necessarily as full featured as Robocopy, but it's called TerraCopy, and this one's from Robert C. Peck. And again, same basic deal. It's basically designed as a Robocopy replacement, and in this case. There are free and pro versions as well.
This is from codesector.com. TerraCopy Pro. Huh.
Yeah, so these are from listeners. So I've actually downloaded both these, and right before we started, I was playing with the first of the 2, the Rich Copy one, and it's got a big UI. There's a lot of stuff going on there, but it's really powerful. And if you do have I think this sort of thing would. I haven't done enough testing it, but I would guess that this does a better job with a folder structure full of lots and lots of small files rather than several large files. I'm guessing that that's where the benefits are. And the thing I've been testing this with is the local copy of my website, which is humongous. Well, humongous in the sense that there's an unbelievable number of files. Let me bring up that exact list here. That can't be right. Well, it's only a couple of gigabytes, but it's 43,279 files.
Oh, yeah. See, that's where the Windows barfs. Yeah.
And you can do this kind of thing over the network in Windows, which I do, but it's very slow. So I'm going to be using these tools in the future, and I'll try to get a handle on which one of these works better for that.
Yeah, the chat room's saying that TerraCopy really is the best of the bunch.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So
I don't have that many need times that I would need that, but we do copy massive files over the network. It's for network copying. I think that's really...
Yeah, I need it every time I leave or come back from a trip, because that's what I do. You know, that's when I transfer the master copy of my website, both to the device I'm taking with me and as a backup to the network.
Does it do, is it like a synchronization as well, so it knows what not to copy and so forth and all that?
Well, that's not the way I end up doing. Just
do a copy.
Kind of a flat blast of it, because there's no point, you know, in trying to figure that out. It's easier just to do the whole thing.
There's just no point. Just blast it. By the way, good news.
Yes.
Windows 7 Secrets is now downloaded to the Kindle. Let's just see if read this first. It says
this chapter.
There we
go. Here it comes.
It's black and white. So that means that Wiley has stripped the color.
Yep. I'll talk to him about this. I need to talk to them this week anyway.
But I have to say the graphics come through very nicely, and Pinch works. So that actually is pretty good. And that's interesting. So that basically became an image separate from the book.
On the page.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. So I double click that.
So there's been some.
They've done some interesting things. They're extracting the image out of the PDF.
They're not as silly as I thought they were.
That is foolish. This is nice.
It is too bad it's not in color though.
But I have to say, totally usable. And on a larger screen like the iPad screen, I think that would be pretty good. What you're going to lose, though, of course, you know, they've got a lot of UI sugar on the iPad with the page turn and stuff.
Yeah,
you have to do this without a sweetener. Look at that. This book very legible.
Look at that. Look how up to date that is.
Windows Mobile 6.5.
It's the future.
Look at that. That's the future, folks.
Mm-hmm. I actually like this UI, and again,
it was pretty usable.
I know when I'm in the minority, but I like it.
Yeah, I know when I've been licked all over. All right. Yeah. All right. This is well worth buying on the Kindle or in hardcover, or really you should have both, because now I have a reference edition, that I can look at any time. Yeah, buy both. Windows 7 Secrets from Wiley & Sons, available anywhere you want it to be. Paul Thurrott is the great author. He's also the news editor for Windows IT Pro, an analyst for Penton Media, and he writes the incredible Windows SuperSite. SuperSite for Windows at winsupersite.com. Paulie, a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to work with a man who knows the parquet floor.
I was just there last night.
He lives on the paint. Really? You were at the what is it? The garden?
The garden. Yeah. Well, whatever they call it these days, the TD Bank North Garden or whatever it is.
The TD Bank North. I always think of it as the parquet garden.
We defeated an infinitely inferior team from Denver.
What is that? The Broncos?
Wow. No, the Nuggets.
The Nuggets. See, when you say the Nuggets, don't you think that's kind of a wussy name?
Actually, so not that we meant to talk about this, but people make their own signs at these events, right? And usually the signs will be designed to disparage the other team.
Yeah, like munch the Nuggets.
So what do you say about the Nuggets? It says, eat the Nuggets. eat the Nuggets. Not beat the Nuggets.
Not beat them, but eat them.
Or dunk the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Which is a Dunkin' Donuts reference for those of you not familiar with this part of the country.
It is the now the TD Bank North Garden.
Yep.
Jeez Louise. And you know what TD stands for?
No.
Toronto Dominion. They're freaking Canadians.
That's fantastic.
They're freaking Canadians.
I'll tell you how happy I am about that.
Get them out of Boston.
I did have dinner before the game at Ye Old Union Oyster House, the oldest continually operated restaurant in the United States.
I actually love it. I haven't been there in maybe 30 years, but I used to love the Union Oyster House. That was the place. Is it still good? Great seafood.
Oh, oyster stew.
Oh, yeah, baby.
That's all I'm saying.
And legal seafood?
Yeah. We have those too.
I love those too.
There's one in Dedham.
It's a chain?
Dedham is like a city unto itself.
It's mini Boston.
Yeah, it is.
You've got the TD Extra North Garden.
If only the Celtics played here, I would never have to leave the city or the town.
So that's good. I'm glad they won for you. Glad they won for you.
Me too.
Yeah. Paul Thurrott, we'll see you next week. Don't forget, we do this show live. You can watch it at live.twit.tv every Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific. 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, 1800 UTC. Live.twit.tv. Join us in the chat room. It's always fun. 500 people mocking me. I love it.
It's important to keep the ego in check.
It certainly does that.
Or beaten to the curb.
We have a new meme. Every time I check into the chat room, they go, God, Leo, you look tired. It's the new meme.
Which is interesting because if you weren't tired, statements like that are just tiring.
That makes it, you know? Exactly. I'd be exhausted.
It's like when someone tells you to calm down when you've been being calm.
I'm calm. But now I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you ought to. Thanks. Thanks, Paul. Great to talk to you. We'll see you next week on Windows Weekly.